Welcome to MattyRocks Experience in the Zoom sessions, coming to you from my home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today I'm joined with special guest from Los Angeles, California, singer-songwriter, bassist, Nicki Tedesco.
Yay! Hi! Wait, let me look for the claps.
All right, I like that.
That was wrong.
I like, no, it was
The
good.
laughs.
It was good. Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me, Matty.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you for joining me today on this, what day is today? Today's Friday.
Yeah.
End of the week. How's your week been for you so far?
Well, I enjoy quarantine very much because nothing's changed for me. This is my lifestyle anyway. Like, I'm always in the studio anyway, doing stuff. And so now I just have an excuse why I can't go out and hang out with people. So like I love quarantine, but I have heard people say something like it feels like Groundhog's Day, like it's the same day every day. So this week has kind of been that way. So I'm just trying to at least wear something different each day to remind me that it's a new day.
Absolutely. You know, I think this whole entire thing has been a blessing and a disguise all at the same time. And I want to first ask you, how are you doing during this time? What have you been doing to keep yourself busy and staying fluent musically?
Well, my album's coming out next Friday.
Yeah.
So I've been promoting like crazy, and I started doing live streams actually for my YouTube subscribers, and just performing live every Saturday. I have a European time and a US time. So, because it was like 4 a.m. in Italy when I was doing it. So I decided to do it in the afternoon for them. And so that's been fun and that's been engaging. But like I said, nothing's really changed for me because I'm really just always in the studio, like working on something. And I have a YouTube channel, so I'm always editing videos. And I had just finished, I had just had the record release party for this record. And then I went to Bali. And then when I came back, like everything happened while I was gone. And I really was trying to stay offline because I was trying to have, I was at a yoga retreat and I was trying to chill and meditate and do yoga and swim and stuff. So I was ignoring the world, as you should when you're in Bali. And then I come back and everyone's like, toilet paper. And I'm like, what's happening? And I just like stayed in my house. I didn't leave for like a month. I just stayed in my house.
Well, I tell you, the whole toilet paper thing, that was just like the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life.
So weird. Why is that what they're stuck? I'm thinking like, why not rice or something? Like, doesn't that make more sense? Or like bass strings? I mean,
I don't know. I don't get it. So during this time, we've obviously had a lot of time to think to ourselves. What is one thing that you have realized about yourself or maybe discovered about yourself that maybe you've never really paid much attention to before?
Oh my gosh. Well, I meditate every day for like 30 minutes to an hour. So I've been on like what people are probably going through right now. I've been on that type of journey for like, but I've been doing what people are doing right now for years already. So I'm already always looking to learn something about like, well, how could I have done this better? How did I get myself into this situation that I'm finding so intolerable, and how can I do this better next time? And how can I be, not just be a better person, because that's debatable what that even means, but how to just, if I don't like the way something's going, like how did I get myself there, basically, and how can I not get myself there in the future? But you did ask something, so there is a couple of things that I wanted to say that I didn't hit on. I'm so happy that the planet is getting a break from all of our nonsense and all of our toxins, so that's wonderful for me. And what am I doing to get by? I'm really doing nothing different. Like everything's the same. I get up, my routine's the same. Like I get up and do yoga and meditate and read some stuff, and then I exercise every day. I'm actually exercising more. I'm doing more ballet because I found some online ballet classes, which I'm really excited about. And but what have I discovered about myself that maybe I didn't think about before, was your question, right?
Yeah.
Um, well, without getting into too many gory details about my recent past, meaning like the past year or two, um, I think what I realized was, you know how, so I live alone, right? And so you know how when you live with somebody, you're highly influenced by everything that happens with that other person, right? And so now I'm living alone. So I've realized like I'm going back to who I was. Like sometimes you change when you're living with someone to be part of that team. But now that this team that I was in is no longer a team, um, I'm like reverting back to who I am and who I was, and I'm so thrilled about it because I'm like, yes, I am a punk rocker. Yes, I don't give a beep, about a lot of things, and so I've cared a lot less about my image, like on my YouTube channel, because well, I mean, without why, but I've cared a lot less, and actually, it's working for me even more because I think people are just starting to get to know me better instead of me trying to be like, okay, this is the piece of gear and this is how it works. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm just like, whatever, this thing, I don't know, throw it away. Cause I don't care. I mean, or whatever it is, or like, I love this thing because blah, blah, blah. And I don't really care how the insides work. So I've just been um, more myself, I guess. And what did I learn about myself? That it can be alone, and I'm totally great about it. Like I'm happy about it. Yeah.
Good for you.
So that's like the one thing I was kind of scared of that. I've always had this fear that like I'll die alone, you know? And I know that sounds, I just took it to a really dark place, but that is like my number one fear. I'll die alone. No one will find me. They'll find my body like weeks later, only because of some other alternate reason, not because they, reasons that you want people to find you that you're missing. But yeah. And so now I'm like, if I die alone, whatever, at least I'll be enjoying myself.
Right on. That's a lot to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nicki, if you would take MattyRocks listeners back to the early years of your life in Van Nuys, California, and give us some insight to how music came into your life.
Hmm. Well, my favorite memory is when my stepdad would play like Bruce Springsteen
Oh,
continually, and he would sing into a beer can. That was his microphone, and he would like sing the lyrics, and he would be like, "Wait, no, you gotta listen, because this is what he's trying to say. Here's the lyrics," and he would like say the lyrics, stop the song, explain what they meant, and he was just like he was so into the lyrics and the meaning of the song. And I do love Bruce Springsteen, even though he has nothing to do with my musical style or tastes. But that really got me into like lyrics and what songs meant, that songs meant something, and then moving into when I found the music that I liked, I like grew up on vinyl, and then cassettes, right? So like just like the A side of an album meant something different than the B side. Like they take you on a different adventure. And now, even though I'm trying to do that with this album, it's like there is no A and B side. I'm like, but there is an A and B side. Whatever. For me, there is, even though there physically is no longer. But me and my friends, we would like go down to the country club and we couldn't get in because we weren't old enough. This is a place on Sherman Way. So they were like small enough that they would have all or they were big enough that they would have bands that you've heard of, but small enough that it was like kind of an intimate setting. And so we would just go there and sit in the parking lot and listen to the bands. So that really influenced me as far as like the dirt of what like rock and punk is. Like you sit in the parking lot and you listen to it, and that's why you're there. That's the whole purpose. It's just to hear the music,
right.
So then, so that mixed with like the lyricism that my stepdad was teaching me, and then like just the grit of it is like what's important to me. Like you got to feel it, and it's also got to mean something,
Right on.
Yeah.
Early on, you started off playing flute and guitar.
Yeah.
And how did you make that deviation to bass? I mean, what was it that made you change to the bass?
Well, I was playing the flute, and besides, if anyone's played the flute that's watching or listening to this, like it makes you dizzy because there's so much air going. Anyway, so I was playing the flute because like my boyfriend at the time played flute, and so I would just play his flute, and so I just taught myself how to play it. And I was like, I'm not feeling this. It's like it was so high. Like the register is so high in the flute that I would have to put it through so many effects. I remember I got a MIDI verb and I was putting it through all these effects and getting all psychedelic. That was the only time I could really get into it, but I couldn't feel it. Remember that thing about feeling it? And then I was playing guitar and just like some acoustic stuff because I saw Lords of the New Church play, and I jumped up on the stage to kiss Steve Bader because he was my idol. And then when I looked out at the audience and the lights were like on the stage, I was like, this is incredible. This feeling is incredible. So I was like, I need to play guitar. And I got the guitar and I just like, well, I wasn't feeling it. And then one time I got in like a car accident. So I got an insurance settlement. And my friend says, oh, there's, in the recycler, if you remember the recycler, there's a bass and a PA for sale. Like, you got to buy it. And I was like, why not? So I got it. And then I swear to God, the first time I hit that note on the bass, and I just felt that because it was plugged into an amp, and it was just like all the stars aligned. I hit the note and it was like, boom. And I was just like, oh, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. I was like, I'm never playing the flute again. I'm only going to play the guitar if I have to.
Right on.
That was it. It was just like the zzz, like the vibration of that bass. And that was it. I never turned around.
Who were the musical influences early on who have helped shape to make you the musician that you are today? Were there any specific bass players?
Yes. I love Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. I also love the bass player from like Kate Bush, and I actually, is it Weber Hart? I don't know his name. Oh my God, I should know his name. But it's like, this is cassette days, like with Super Saver series. Like they don't have the names of the musicians on it. But I basically learned to play bass by learning all Black Sabbath songs.
Wow.
Yeah, I had this job where I had to leave at like 7 a.m. I would wake up at 5 to play Black Sabbath songs. I mean, that's when I look back at that, I'm like, I'm not waking up at 5 for anything. Like, I'm not waking up at 5 for a plane flight to Hawaii. Like, I'm not waking up at 5, period. and just thinking like, I was so on fire about the bass that I would just wake up at 5 so I could practice before I went to work. And I think the reason that Black Sabbath was so easy to learn was it wasn't so hard that I could hear it. I could hear what the bass was doing because the bass was doing something different than guitar. And so you're not just copying the guitar. I could hear the bass tone. And it wasn't that hard. The lines aren't that hard, but they have like a heavy groove. So you can really get into it. And it's because I also love the Chili Peppers, but at that point, like that was way too hard for me to even attempt, because I was just learning,
Right.
Yeah.
We might have already answered this question, but there might be some more that you can add to it. But what was that moment as a teen that gave you that inspiration that made you want to be a songwriter and play your own songs?
Probably when I was on stage with Steve Bader trying to sneak a kiss. No, but no, that inspired me to want to perform. But you're asking about writing the song. I think
I'm asking like to get into this industry, to continue to do what you've done, where was that inspiration? What was it? What was it? A specific moment? Was it something that said, you know what? I got to do this. And I want to do this.
That's a good question. Well, when I was growing up, it was there was not a lot to do, right? You just either, and I mean, I know this is bad. If you're under 18 or 21, don't listen. But like, you sit it literally on the curb and you drink beer and you're either doing that or I don't know. Like, I mean, it wasn't a soccer mom world back then. Like, it wasn't a bunch of after school activities. It was like, your mom's at work till 8 and you're home alone, and you're either going to get into a heck of a lot of trouble with your friends, which I also did, or you're just going to sit on the curb and drink beer. Like, there's literally nothing to do. You have to just keep yourself entertained. And like I said, once I hit that first bass note, I was just like, oh, I have finally found something that's interesting to me, to do. And but to continue, I just think it's like always been there. Like, I don't remember not being like this. I don't remember not knowing what I was going to do. I mean, plus when I was like 8, I used to act out Grease, like from the beginning to end and sing all the parts. So I've always been a performer, basically, like just a ham. And then once I played the bass and just completely fell in love with music, like in my teens, it just kind of married the two together. And I was like, that's it. Like, I'm getting in the van. I'm going to wherever the band goes, and we're just going to play. And I started writing songs really young, but then I kind of stopped for so many years because I was just in other people's bands. But I mean, that seed was already there, and all it took was like a little bit of water, which really was that bass tone. As soon as I heard that bass rumble, that was it. It was like a sprout. And then I just never turned back.
If you had a plan that you put in place to get to where you are or to get into this industry, what was it and how did you execute it?
I had no plan. I did not execute on any plan. And I really feel like if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I really believe that. And like I said, for so many years I was just lost, like going from band to band, and I didn't, I didn't have a goal like, I'm going to be a studio musician, or I'm going to be this or that, or I'm going to write my own songs, or I'm going to be a hired gun for tours. Like there was, and those are kind of, that's it. You're either an original artist, you're a hired gun, you're a studio guy, or, other or you play in a cover band.
Right.
So there's really like these 4 buckets, but I didn't think about any of that. I just played in original bands. And for so long, I just kind of said yes to every single band offer. And that really got me good really fast. But then I just sort of stayed there for many years. And then I started saying yes to cover gigs and everything. Anyway, I feel like I've wasted a lot of time doing that. And so now I'm kind of making up for lost time by just hitting it hard, like with original music. Because once I finally learned how to sit down and write a song and kind of just honed that skill, even though it's a lifetime learning thing. But once I got better at that, and now I know how to record all my stuff because I got my own gear, then now I'm just like, I say no to everything now. Because when I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else, right? And so I want to say yes to my own music and my own records and everything. So I have to basically say no to everything else. And that's why I love quarantine, because I can say no to anything. I'm like, nope, COVID, I can't go.
But obviously that those bands that you played in played probably and hopefully played a significant role in where you are today, because they helped you. I mean, you played in a band called Nasty Girl, right? The Girl Skinners.
Oh my God. Is this the gem that you're talking about? I honestly don't remember that band at all. I think I might have maybe learned all their songs and played a couple times with them, but yeah, that wasn't a very long-term thing.
It was in Austin, Texas, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Okay. So I was playing with the drummer, and then she said, oh, I got a gig because I was in this band called the Girl Skinners, right? And they were playing with these other punk bands. They were kind of known, I guess, since I didn't know who they were, but they were known in this circle, and the circle wanted them to come back and play. And so, but she didn't have any songs. And so she basically said, can we play all your songs and call ourselves Girl Skinner? So I was like, you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to Austin, Texas and playing songs at a tattoo shop. It was fun.
That was a tough one to find, but I found it.
I know, that is so bizarre. It's so funny. It's so out there. And it was so short-lived. It just like happened and then ended.
Right. But you
Yeah,
did play the flute again in a speed metal band.
I did. I did. That was before I played bass. This
Okay.
is one of my favorite stories though,
Okay.
is that so I was playing flute in the speed metal band. You know how like speed metal has the like dun, 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 dun,
Yep.
it's got like the riff, right? And then the solo comes and then it like goes to halftime and there's like this intense solo and then after the solo like maybe it gets fast or whatever. So this I would always play the flute during this intense solo part, you know, and then we would do like we would like riff back and forth and then instead of two guitars it was like a flute and a guitar basically. And I really enjoyed that, but still like something was missing as far as the instrumentation in general. Like it was just, okay, I'm in a band. Okay, I'm doing speed metal. And then it was like, yeah, but I'm playing flute.
How did those experiences help prepare you for becoming a playing musician that played out live? How did those experiences help you? What did you draw from those that you brought with you to future experiences?
Well, I have learned many things from that. Not that I've actually done a good job at implementing them, but I think like you learn about the first thing is like drama in the band,
Hmm.
right? And then drug use in the band. Like so here's the things not to do. Drug use in a band. Number one. Number two, drama in the band. Number three, like having relationships in the band. Like these are all things that you just learn not to do really fast. Whether you continue to do them or not is another story. But those are the things that I learned were like, oh, this is what tears apart a band. I get it. And you know, I mean, you learn teamwork, but I feel like, you know, not until recently it's like it's almost like I've spent years learning these lessons and not implementing them until now. And so it's like now I'm finally at a place in life where I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that because that. But it's like even though I was in the process of learning those lessons, I don't think I actually put them into effect until recently, you know.
And
But
that's fine.
yeah.
That's fine. I mean, as long as you learn. I mean, if they taught you something and you carried them with you, I mean, that's just as good as you know, never doing it. But you carried them with you and you implemented them later, so you definitely learned something from those experiences.
Yeah. And working really hard. I think I've learned to this is going to sound terrible. This is like the worst part of the music business. I've learned to like not expect much and put in a ton of effort. Like I'm talking, you know, wake up in the morning, load an entire van, drive hours, unload, set up, play your heart out to nobody, load it all back in, drive somewhere, and then you just all you get out of it is, yeah, we played that song really good tonight. Like that's all you get out of it. You don't get nothing. But I mean, I've had other successes, but I think so many years of doing that has just taught me to like I don't expect a lot, so when something is a success, it's very exciting. Um, but I don't expect a lot and I work really hard and I just don't stop. I just don't stop working hard.
That's awesome. I mean, everything I've seen from you, everything I've watched, just talking to you on the phone, I can definitely tell that about you.
Oh, thank you.
So that's awesome. You go by Nicki Tedesco, obviously, as a single artist, but you also perform your self-created Frantic Ginger.
Yes.
How did that whole project come to be and take shape for you?
So um I was Nicki Tedesco, right? And I put out an album, Nicki Tedesco. And I thought, this is so boring. Like I want a band. I mean, even if I don't have a band, like there's something different when you look at I think it's changing now, but when I put together Frantic Ginger, it was like I was looking at like, okay, there's, you know, John Smith, right? I'm not going to use real artists because I don't want to put anybody down. And that's not what I'm trying to do. But there's John Smith, and then there's like the Acorns, for example. So it's like, oh, the Acorns, like that sounds like an event. That sounds like something's going on. That sounds like a group of like a vibe and a thing. And I just thought Nicki Tedesco doesn't really, when you see the words and you hear the name as a stranger to Nicki Tedesco, you don't know what to expect, and there's no branding to it. So I was like, I want more of like a band image and a group, and like we're all in this together doing something as a team, and I just wanted more of that vibe. So I decided to put a record out under Frantic Ginger, and really it was still just me. It was still just me writing songs. And then I put that out, and then it just, I got some advice. I've started taking advice recently. That's another new thing. But this really great producer I was working with said, people know you as Nicki Tedesco. Why don't you just go back to Nicki Tedesco? So now I have, and it's actually been kind of a branding nightmare. So I don't recommend that to anybody. Like if you brand yourself once, don't change it. Stick to it, stay there.
What was the story behind Frantic Ginger? What was the story behind the name? I'm sorry.
Well, those band name generators. So it was like my name or something. I don't remember what you plug in, but it became like Frantic Realm. And I was like, that sounds too like progressive rock. And so I was like, I need something more punk rock because, I'm punk rock at heart. And so, and I actually have naturally red hair. So my friends always call me Ginger. So, or red or something. So then I was like, Frantic Ginger, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be like a crazy little redhead, crazy bass player. So then I had this whole idea, like a caricature of this like punk rock redhead with like, like a steampunk band. And she's all with their like gigantic boots that are like the size of, Gene Simmons boots, like she's just nuts. And then there's going to be a whole cartoon that goes with it. And so I had all these ideas, and the album cover is kind of like has her, the new album cover also has her on it too, because I don't want to just let it go. I like the idea of telling a story that you don't have to say like, oh, I'm in the story. I'm the star in the story, and I end up in this place, and here's what happens. But if you can say like, this character ends up in the story, and this is what happens to the character, then you have more freedom to imagine, and you have more artistic license to just be like, yes, and then this character ends up in this thing, and this happens, and it doesn't have to be so like, oh, did that really happen to you, Nicki? It's like, I don't know, maybe it did, but so like with a character, you don't have to really commit.
Right. If someone puts in a Nicki Tedesco CD and listens to it for the first time, what genre do they put it in?
Well, that's interesting. I was just thinking about that today. So I'm on this playlist called Hard Rock, right? And it starts off with these bands that sound like, they're trying to be Soundgarden, and it's great because I love Soundgarden. And then a couple of like hair metal sounds come in, and then like some country comes in. I'm like, what is happening with this playlist? It is off. It is not on point. And then comes my music, right? So I was like, I don't know. Like I try to listen to it as though I've never heard it before, but it just sounds punk. And it's not even punk rock really, like classically, but there's some sort of attitude in there that, it doesn't just like politely creep into your life. Like you turn it on and that's it. Like you got to stop what you're doing and listen, or it's going to annoy you, so you're going to turn it off. Like it's not just like background music. you have to listen to what's happening, and I start telling you stuff, you know what I mean? I start telling you stories, and so yeah, I think it's punk. I mean, I want to call it Riot Girl because that's really what it is, but Riot Girl is kind of a dead genre, so nobody knows what that is anymore. So then I've done a lot of research, and it does fall in garage rock, but then that, I don't know. So I just call it punk because it just kind of helps me explain to people like, you're either going to love it or you hate it.
Right. You know, when I first heard it, um, it had a little runaway-ish sound to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've heard that. And it's funny because I'm not like I'm not I don't like have Runaways albums and listen to them. But yeah, I know what you mean. And that's why like I wouldn't would you say that they're a punk band or a rock band or
You know, I guess I guess I would kind of struggle with kind of the answer that you gave if I was asked that, and I would probably put it in the same category as what you just did.
Mhm.
I would probably describe it the same way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think you're pretty on par for that.
Yeah. So I just you know, in order to like try to get myself in the stream of things, you know, I submit to hard rock things as well as punk because punk can be very specific, but and just see what catches.
Very
I
nice.
just submit it everywhere.
You're responsible for the release of two studio albums on your own, but you have a third one on the way,
Yeah.
which is next week, the
Yeah.
20th.
I'm so
Heaven is a Ghost Town.
yes.
I want you to talk about the creative inspiration that came from putting this release together. Where did
The
it come?
release or
Where
the
did it come?
content?
Where did it come from?
The album?
Yep, like where did that creativeness
I am so
come?
excited about this album, if you can't tell. I'm dying right now. I'm like so excited. And this is the shirt from the record release party.
Nice.
Yes, I'm so thrilled about everything that's happened with this. Um the story of the album is like the album cover has Frantic Ginger on it and she arrives at heaven and she finds out that it's like this flaming gaseous and nebulous like hellscape.
Mhm.
And as soon as she steps in, her shadow turns into this like monstrous creature shadow. Like she just turns into a monster as soon as she steps right in. And so that's kind of like the intro to it. And then the title track off it is called Heaven is a Ghost Town. And really it was that I had a dream that I snuck into heaven.
Ooh,
Because don't we all?
yeah.
I always ask people that question. They're like, no, I really don't. But yeah, so I had a dream that I snuck into heaven and nobody was there. And it was like this dusty, like country, no, like a country western vibe with like, you know, and the tumbleweeds flowing and like the dirt is just kind of flowing up into the air and it's black and white. And that was literally the dream. And then I run into my mom and my grandma. They're the only ones there. And so we hang out and we start like writing songs together and jamming. And then you know, I tell her, okay, I'm gonna come back tomorrow. I'm gonna sneak back in tomorrow. But then like I woke up and that was it. I never snuck back in. But so that's literally what the lyrics are in that song. So that was the inspiration for the title. And then all of the songs were it's not like a concept album where all the songs tie in, but it is like a point in time type of album where I wrote all the songs in the same time period. I recorded them all in the same environment with the same with all the same settings, and so it is very cohesive.
Mhm.
And yeah, but that's the inspiration for that. And then each song has its own little story that goes with it.
If you don't mind me asking this, are mom and grandma still with us today?
No, they are in heaven.
Okay,
I mean, you know, if ... But I'm just saying, yeah.
so don't you think that's unique? I mean, they're kind of like a creative part of this story for you.
Yes. Yes, and I mean, this is what's so magical to me about, I mean, if nobody listens to anything else except this part of the interview, this is so magic to me, is that all the songs I write are inspired. And I don't know if I go as far as to say divinely inspired, but what else is it? I mean, they're like energetically inspired by something else. Like, because usually what'll happen is I'll be dreaming, I'll be sleeping, and I hear some song in the dream. It doesn't really matter what the dream is. It's that I'm hearing this song and like, but part of me, the semi-conscious part of me hears the song and is like, that's not a song. You're not just listening to like Teenage Daydream. What is that one by Katy Perry? You're not just like replaying a song you heard today. Like that's another song. This is a new song. And then I make myself wake up and I record it in my phone. And then like, you know, when I finally sit down in the studio, I listen to all these little pieces and then I see if it can inspire me again to figure out what was happening in that dream or in the song. And that's how I write all my songs, all of them.
Wow.
So I mean, there's a couple songs where I've sat down and gone, oh, this is a cool riff. Maybe I'll put a little vocal thing on. There's like a couple that are like that. And you can almost tell. It's like Egotistical Boys was like that because it's just really got this riff. Like if it's just a heavy riff song, it probably was just me riffing out and then I wrote a top line or whatever. But like these other songs that have these just weird, you know, the bass line and the guitar's doing something different and then, you know, and then the vocals floating on top and it's those are all inspired by dreams. So it feels magic. And yeah, so I love telling that story about Heaven is Ghost Town because I mean, it means so much. It's not just, you know, oh, what are we going to name the album? You know, it's like, well, this album like dropped into my life. I didn't really make it. It just was like, here's what you're going to do. You know,
Great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's an 8-track release. You've already chosen your first single, Trapped Inside.
Yeah.
What's the story behind Trapped Inside? Because it's kind of unique.
You mean sonically unique or the story?
Why you chose it to be your first single?
Oh. Well, I think it was just, it surprised me a little bit. Every time I would hear it, I would go, man, that drum beat is cool. and then like the guitars would come in. I'm like, that's cool riff. I don't know. Like it would just kind of surprise me every time. And I thought maybe it was digestible enough, but hard enough that it would hint at what the rest of the album is. Because I have some songs on there I have like a couple really gentle songs. I have a song that sounds pretty punk, and then I have a song that's like really aggressive, and then I have just like a poppy song. And so I thought I want to use the song that, I don't know, just every time I heard it, it just seemed like, oh, this is going to be the first track. This is going to be number one for sure on the album. I want to open it with this. And I thought, well, if I want to open it with this, why not open it's the first single so that everybody hears it? Even though the producer I was working with said, he was the engineer and he like mixed it, mastered it, played guitar. He's fantastic. And he said, no, Egotistical Boys is the single. That has to be the single. And I was like, I don't know. It sounds like Joan Jett. It sounds like AC/DC. It sounds so plain. It's it's not specific enough. You know, it doesn't represent. So, and I was making all these excuses, so I didn't do it. Anyway, long story short, when a producer that's charted songs gives you advice, you might want to just follow it. because that was my third single, and it ended up on like playlists. It has 25,000 streams. It's doing really well. The other two singles didn't really like take off very much. So, I mean, people like them, but Egotistical Boys is just being picked up by multiple playlists on Spotify. And that's kind of like the goal these days when you put out a single, is that a Spotify playlist picks it up. They have 250,000 listeners. Like, you're going to get plays regardless if people look for you or not. So yeah, that was my third single. But so anyway, so Trapped Inside, that's really about like how your mind is your own like prison, and like you can only do what you think you can do. And I know it sounds like, oh yeah, we all know that. Okay, but we're all living in this prison. Like, we are legit not letting ourselves do things because we think we can't, and because our ego's in the way and stuff like that. So And even like me too, I don't want to sit there and like sing in front of people unless I have something prepared, like, because I don't want to look bad, you know? And it's like, just freaking sing. Like, it's a campfire. It's not a big deal.
Right.
You know, like, just enjoy yourself and be yourself. But, you know, my ego's too busy. Like, no, you got to look good. You got to have something prepared. So, yeah. So that song is just, it's about me being just, I mean, me and representing the rest of the human race. Like, we're all totally trapped. So, but yeah, every time I heard it, I was like, this has got to be the single.
You know, when I saw the name of it, it immediately took me to like where we are right now in the world.
I know. And that's why it was so timely. It was so timely that was the single. I was like, man, this is perfect.
Right on. So Nicki, what can fans expect from this release?
Wonder and and internal depths of brilliance. No. There's so many unexpected turns in this album. I really feel like people got to listen to it. I feel like, I mean, I don't want to say like, oh, my album is brilliant, it's genius, but I feel like it is. Like, when I listen to these songs, I feel like, how did I write that? Like, where did that come from? Because there will be these really cool bass lines that are just, when I had to put the band together to play the gig for the record release, I was like, how did I write this bass line and sing with it? Like, how am I going to do this? So I really had to practice. But there's really killer bass lines and there's killer bass tones. So that's number one. Number two, there is a lot of introverted topic, like subject matter, that I think everybody can relate to. This elephant in the room style subject matter. Like, oh, we don't want to face that denial is, like, I don't want to face that denial is my number one go-to coping mechanism. So there's a song about that. And so things that, like, we all like our private little hidden secrets, they're all in this album. And that can help people think, wow, I'm not alone. Like, other people feel like this. Other people have these same things that I thought were just my secret little issues. Everyone's got these. And so in relating to that and relating to the vulnerability in the lyrics, that they can feel like it's their album too. It's about them. Like, it can be the theme song for whatever they're going through right then that relates to that. And then plus there's the soundscape of all the killer bass tone, but some really good guitar stuff, and there's just some beautiful soundscapes going on, and then there's some attitude. So I just feel like it's like soundtrack of your life album, where you just hear it and you're like, yeah. You know, so I think that's what people can expect, is to relate. Right. To relate to me being vulnerable about, here's the topics, and yeah, we are all doing this. We are all feeling this.
Well, I look forward to hearing the rest of it, and I'm going to pay a whole heck of a lot of attention to what these songs are really saying.
I'm so glad. Because that's really important.
And Nicki, like I tell everyone, you know, because I'm able to do this, you know, whatever I can do to help push your CD, to get it out there to the masses. Remember, I'm on different internet stations around the country and around the world. So however I can take your music to get it into rotation in those stations, I'm here for you.
I appreciate that so much. And
okay.
Besides just saying I appreciate that and then closing the call, I do want to tell you though, that even though I do everything for myself, and like I said, I haven't always had a plan. I might not know what to tell you to do to help me. So I am ready to take advice. Like, if you have some advice, I am ready to take it, and I will accept any help.
Absolutely. And we're not closing the call yet. We have more to go.
Okay, good. Yay.
We're not done yet.
Okay, good. It sounded like a wrap up kind of a sentence.
No. I just wanted to let you know that before I departed today, so I didn't forget that. Okay.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. And as you saw, like, I'm on it. I'll send you whatever you need, like, fast.
Yeah, like that fast.
Yeah. Got it ready to go.
Wow. Maybe you could handle some stuff for MattyRocks. I don't know. Anyway, I forgot to ask you this question earlier, and I think I can kind of fit it in here now because I think it's relevant. But when you talked about the release party, how did you select the artists to play with you? I mean, who were they, and how did they get selected to play?
Well, my drummer, Tasha Jones, I love her. And when I was looking for a drummer, I just kind of went on Facebook and searched around and watched people's videos. Because, I mean, I wanted an all-girl band. This is when I was putting together Frantic Ginger. And that's a whole nother story, like about how I used to hate all-girl bands. And I thought, blah, 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 but whatever. And this time I was like, no, we are going to kill it. We're going to crush it. And we're going to be a trio because I want that bass sticking out. And I want things clear, and I just love trios. I don't know why it's a thing. I love trios where the bass player is the singer. It's just this like dream I've always had. And anyway, so I was on Facebook just kind of not stalking her, but doing research. And so I held auditions. Anyway, she was the best. She just nailed it. She killed it. And so now whenever I have a gig, I call her. So she's my drummer. I love her. And I love watching her play too. She's exciting to watch her, because also when you have a trio, you really need to have some exciting players, because there's not a lot of visual. So each person has to have, a big personality on stage. So yeah, so she's my go-to drummer. And then for my guitarist, I have been struggling with finding a great guitarist that can pull off these guitar parts. Because like I said, this producer I had was so incredible, is so good at guitar, but I would watch him lay down the guitar tracks. He would do a guitar track, and then he would come in and he would just do like one note. And then we'd have like 5 guitar tracks of like 2 notes. And then one other thing that's like, so like for guitars to come in and cop all that is, first of all, probably a nightmare for them. But number 2, they've got to play like rhythm and lead. So they have to have both of those skills. And then they have to have a ton of different, sounds. So anyway, I've been struggling with finding a good guitar player. So, memo to the world, if there's any female guitar players that, and I mean, I guess I'll be an equal gender opportunity person or non-gender, whatever. I'm down. If you can play the guitar parts, call me. And so anyway, the way I found this girl is we were in a band a long time ago called Dreaming Society. And it just hit me like, why don't I call her? What have I been thinking? So I called her, and plus she's like a tone crazy person, like with the whole pedal boards and 20 pedals and 1 pedal for one little part of one section. And so yeah, so she was my guitarist. And then but something was kind of missing from the solo arena, so I had to pull in my other friend Paul that has also played with me before, so that I could just have the full, like, everything. I really need all those guitar parts. So yes, so that's what I did for this show. There were 4 of us.
Right on.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about your self-created company, The Strands LA. And I want you to talk about what this company is and how it all came together took shape for you.
Well, this company has evolved. So I started in like 2007, I think. And because I was putting together a studio and I was spending so much money on gear. And so I was like, I need to like have a umbrella to say like, this is for this, this is the Strands, and I'm putting together the studio. And so it just kind of came about, and then didn't really have much of a purpose because I wasn't putting out records yet. And then I started working with this producer I was telling you about. His name's Alex Guadagnoli. He's amazing. And so he came out from Italy, and so he was like officially like the producer of the Strands. So now the Strands became like, okay, we are a pro audio studio, post-production, we do voiceovers, we write songs for film and TV. And so he came out from Italy, and we did we put together the Strands. We put together a brand new studio, and we wrote 80 songs together because we were doing songs for film and TV, and we were shopping them around. And he landed a couple of like theme songs, and then he does some scoring and things like that. But then in the interim of that, you know, I was like, I want to write songs. I want to put out my own album. And so he's like, well, let's sit down and write a song. I was like, is that how you do it? Because I had no idea. And because I had been so long just joining bands and learning songs and learning covers and learning all this stuff that I find I don't want to do that anymore. But at that point I was just like, I really want to write songs. So we co-wrote a few songs for my first album. I think a few, maybe 2. I'm not sure. We co-wrote a ton of songs, so it's not, but I'm just saying, like, for that first album, he co-wrote Sick as Freak, which is, and he's just brilliant. So anything he touches, it's just like a hit. So, you know, he made that song a hit, basically. And so then the Strands for many years was post-audio production. He did mixing and mastering. I put out my albums under the Strands, being the record label, basically. And then it kind of evolved. He's not part of the Strands anymore. And so then I wanted to really offer the recording studio for women, female songwriters. So I put, you know, a big, you know, put all the flags out. Hey, ladies, come over. Let's write songs together. Let's hone your songwriting skills. Well, it turns out there's just not that many songwriters around. There's just few and far between. And the proof of that is that, well, I'll tell you that in a minute. But anyway, to answer your question. So now the Strands is my record company, and it's like to put out my albums, and like, that's the whole goal of Strands. Now it's just like putting out my records.
How did you, I love how names come to be. How did you come up with the Strands LA? I mean, what is the Strand?
This is such a stupid and funny story.
But there's always a story behind a name. And I want that in every one of my interviews. So
okay, good. Yeah. So, you know, I was trying to find the epic name, epic name. And so I thought, you know, I want one of those names that, like, in 30 years, they're like, oh yeah, CBGB. You know what I mean? Like something like that. That's just like, you know, memorable. And so I think there was a club in New York. I don't know why I've always been obsessed with New York. I feel like they're legit over there. So I mean, we're out here on the West Coast, you know, swimming and surfing, and they're out hitting the streets, going to the clubs. So they're legit, you know. And I think there was a club called the Strand, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then I was going to the beach. I went to the beach, and there's this part of the beach called the Strand. And I was like, there it is again, the Strand. This is a sign. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to call it the Strands. Like, it doesn't mean anything like strands of things. Like, it doesn't mean nothing. It's literally a word that I thought has a cool ring to it, you know? And then, so anyway, so this is in the days of MySpace. And so I was like, oh, we're going to be the Strands. So like, I open a page and it's like, the Strands already exist. Like, it was like, the Strands existed. So I was like, oh, let's call it the Strands UK. So it'll just be like super cool, because the guys in England, they're legit. You know, that's where punk rock came from, you know. Right. They're out on the streets in the club. New York learns what to do from England. Yeah, the Strands UK. And then I was just thinking, like, why? I've never even been to the UK. I don't even understand, why would I do that? And I think I talked myself out of the UK, but because the Strands already existed, I was like, okay, fine, the Strands LA. and it's been a complication to this time. I mean, I've just, you know, if anybody wants advice, if you got a name, don't make one that has acronyms and periods in it and spaces, because it just starts to get complicated, like anytime you're doing something. But yeah, it's the Strands LA. So that's where it was not thought through. It was one of those plan to fail things.
Well, no, it's a unique name. And I will tell you, as much as I know, as well as I know California, when I saw the name, the beach reference came to my mind.
Really? Oh, that is so
absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely, because I knew that there was a Strands, the Strands, so I already knew that.
Oh, that is so cool.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I wonder. See, that's why I like to hear the story about the names because
Yeah.
I love it. So, what have been some of your successes with the Strands LA? What's some of your biggest accomplishments or successes from this project?
Well, the songs that got landed as theme songs for some shows was a really incredible success.
Can you name those?
Yeah, one was called Naked Vegas, and it was kind of short lived, but it was where they would like paint people, body painting. It was really cool though, because they were naked and they would paint on like full outfits or paint them to flush into the wall. Like then all of a sudden the person would walk out that looked like it was just part of the wall. So it was really cool. So it was the theme song for that. We got some songs in the Kardashians, in Girls Rules or something like some other shows that a lot of reality shows, like reality shows need so much music and they're always they do a lot of filming, and so it's a really good venue for songs. The sad part is like my producer Alex, so he would write all the music and then I would either write the top line or he would write it and I would write the lyrics and sing on it. But by the time they put those songs, and I mean at that point in time they didn't want they didn't want the singing. They never want the singing. They only want instrumental. So anytime like a song would get placed, I'd be like, oh, great, good, yeah, I spent so much time on that top line and now nothing. So it didn't feel like a success, but so it was a success for him.
Right on.
And the other successes, I mean, I heard something really cool today about don't let other people's idea of success influence your concept of success. So for me, like things in the books, success are like, yeah, we landed the song. Yeah, Egotistical Boys is on a playlist. The album by Electrocution, Metaphysincarnation was recorded here, and it's on vinyl and everything. And it's like this great album by this death metal band in Italy. And those are like the on paper successes, but for me personally, the successes are me putting out my album and becoming a songwriter, because I feel like, I mean, it makes me want to cry, like thinking about it is that that's all I've ever wanted, you know? And I always thought I couldn't do it, like, cause I was trapped inside. Hashtag trapped inside. And I just thought I couldn't do it, or I thought I didn't know how. And all I needed was a little push and like a little bit of guidance. And I was off to the races. And now I'm just like, album, album, album. And just the fact that I've done that, I feel like I can, I mean, I can die happy. Like if I died tonight, I'm stoked. Like I have put out 3 albums and I am freaking stoked. Like some bands, some of my favorite bands only have 3 albums of their whole career. And even though, you know, I don't have 8, or even though they haven't sold 1 million or played 1 million, I still feel like I don't care. I did it. I have the plaque on my wall with the CD in it, with my face, you know, with my name. Like I am so stoked about that. So for me, that's the biggest success that came out of it. And I know how to engineer.
Right on.
So I've learned so much.
Right on.
Yeah.
You have a pretty successful YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, someone like myself who's trying to grow my YouTube channel and I'm only at 89 subscribers, can you be my 90th?
Can I be your what?
90th?
I think I already subscribed, but yes.
On my YouTube channel?
No, I'm going to subscribe right now. Wait, what is it called? Let's do a little plug.
MattyRocks Official. MattyRocks Official.
Okay, let's see. If I
thank you for that subscription.
I'm not subscribed. Oh, what a bad supporter. You have 90 now.
Thank you. I only need
100 to get your custom URL.
No, I need 940. I need 900 and 800. No. How many do I need? I need 1,000.
For what? Oh, to monetize?
Yeah.
Actually, there's a couple more requirements, not just 1,000.
No, I know. I've already reached the other.
Oh, you have?
I've already reached the viewership. At least that's what they told me.
Oh, that's fantastic because you have
So,
to have a certain number of hours.
right. I think I've got them.
That's unbelievable that you have that. I'm not saying it's unbelievable, but that's incredible that with 89 subscribers, you have that many hours of view
Yeah.
because I struggled with that for years. Like I had thousands of subscribers, but I didn't have enough time. And so you must have a lot of videos probably.
I do, but I
It's
want to
good.
ask you. I
It's
mean,
good.
what's the successful tip for keeping up your YouTube channel and getting so many subscribers and the support that you have?
Well, it's taken me a very long time, a really long time. And I remember when I had 250 subscribers and I was like, I only have 250 subscribers. And then I stopped paying attention to how many I had. And I just started paying attention to content. And now I have 5,000, like plus. And
5.64 to be exact.
oh, thank you. Yeah. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to be a successful YouTuber. And I watched videos, I don't know if this worked or not, but I watched videos in a completely different realm. I used to be obsessed with makeup videos. I would watch just people putting on their makeup and like explaining the products and everything. And so I started learning about like the product placement and um, the intro video and the little fancy video thing they would have, and then how they would say like, welcome to my channel, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification button, like the whole like intro thing, and then like the little outro, and then sometimes they would do like behind the scenes outtakes. So I started kind of molding my video, like the mold, like the song form of the video to that. And then I would try to, I heard this advice, but this didn't last for long with me. But if you go into YouTube and you start a search and then you see what pops up, what's happening is you're seeing what everyone's searching for. And so you make that video.
Mm.
Like if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do a bass cover of, I don't know what. So you type in bass cover of whatever pops up first, you make that video because that's what everyone's looking for.
Okay.
But after Bruno Mars, everything was bass cover of Bruno Mars, this and that, and I was just like, you know what, that's not me. I'm not doing a cover of Bruno Mars. So then I would just do covers of songs that I loved that I had to learn for gigs anyway. So I did a lot of Slipknot covers. I mean, not a lot actually, but those to this day have the most views. But my number one, and then I have this off-topic advice. My number one best video is one that I told my friend. I was like, I have this great idea for a video. I'm gonna do this video. And they're like, why would you do that? And I was like, oh, tail between my legs. But I did it anyway. And it's like my best performing video. And it didn't get any help from the name Slipknot or from the gear I was using. Because a lot of times if you use a certain piece of gear, then the company of the gear you're using will promote the video too. So there's that cross promotion. Like if for you, like go with a microphone, try to get like a microphone endorsement and then say, I'm going to do this microphone. I'm always going to use this microphone. So, and promote me because I'm always, using your microphone. I'm promoting you.
Thank you for reminding me that because I literally have a microphone company, EV,
Yeah.
right down the street from my house.
Oh my God, just go there.
I
You're
know.
like, I'm a YouTuber.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to book something with them.
Yeah. I love EV. I love them. Oh, love their
They're right down the street. They're in the same city as me.
That is so cool. I love Minneapolis because you're in Minneapolis, right?
I'm in Minneapolis, but I'm on the outskirts a little bit. So
you know Babes in Toyland?
I do.
Because they came from there. So I'm like, oh, Minneapolis is awesome.
Well, you'll have to get up here.
I love them. I know they're not still playing, but there's how's the music scene there? Like, is it
The music scene is still good. I mean, we get all the major bands that come through here. We've got a great independent uh, band nation here
Hmm.
that does an amazing job with music.
Oh,
So Minneapolis is, still I consider it a strong music city.
yeah. Yeah, it's always had that image for me in my mind. It's always had this like integrity filled image of like just really authentic bands coming from there.
Yep,
So,
I'm proud to be from here. I really am.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's so cool. But let me tell you really quick about the video that I made. It
okay,
was it was how to get the tone of a post-punk how to get post-punk bass tone.
okay,
And little did I know people are love that because they're looking for that because no one else is doing it because no one else is looking for it. It's like this backwards thing. It's like no one's looking for it because there's only a few people that want it. But now that you've put it out, you're the only one with it, and all those people that were looking for it are now coming to you. So that's when I realized that, and I made an announcement on my channel. I said I'm still going to do Slipknot covers. I'm still going to do bass covers. I'm still going to do gear reviews. But this is all about my music now. This is all about my album. I'm putting out an album for like the next 6 months or a year. All you're going to do is hear my songs, and I'm going to live stream, and we're just going to chat and talk, and I'm going to get to know all you guys, and we're going to talk about bass, and that's it because I'm obsessed. And so I have like a cool core group of people that love that. They just really enjoy it a lot. And so I think, I know this sounds cheesy, but if you find your little niche, even if it's so small, and somebody says, oh, that number, you're not going to get the numbers because your niche is too small. It's just not true. I mean, you still have to follow whoever you are really. Like if you're Matty the interviewer, like that's your thing. I'm Matty the interviewer from Minneapolis, Matty from Minneapolis, and just go with that and find whatever your niche is, and don't be ashamed that it's small. Be happy because you're going to represent that tiny niche. You're going to be the only one. People are going to come to you for that, you know?
and you know what I'm going to have on my YouTube channel?
What?
The Nicki Tedesco interview.
Oh, yes. And then you got to get the Patreon page going and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I have a hard time getting all that stuff going. It's just too much for me. But
It's okay.
I will eventually one day. Nicki, I want to know, what do you want the world to know about Nicki Tedesco and your music?
Oh, I adore you, Matty, because I adore the questions that you asked.
This is the MattyRocks experience.
I know.
You're getting the MattyRocks experience.
I'm having the experience.
That's my niche right there, Nicki.
It is. It is. It's an experience to get interviewed by you. In fact, when we were talking about the strands and the name, I was thinking like the Jimi Hendrix experience. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, he's not just Jimi Hendrix. He's a whole experience, and so are you.
Right.
Okay, what do I want the world to know? I
About
want them
you and your music.
about me. I want them to know that this might be way too deep.
Give it to me.
Can I tell kind of a long answer to this?
Yeah.
And then I will wrap it up. I will wrap it up into a tiny bullet point, but I want to tell a little story about it. When I was in Bali, we did this, we were at a yoga retreat, and we did a bunch, like 20 women, and we were doing this exercise where we all tell each other what we want people to think about us, like just what you asked, what you want the world to see when they meet you. And it was like, I want people to think I'm pretty. And someone else would say, I want people to think I'm smart. I want people to think this. And I said, well, I want people to think I'm a badass bass player, right? And I'm like a self-starter, DIYer, and that we're going to have a deep conversation when you meet me. I'm not interested in small talk. Go talk to somebody else if you want small talk. Like, I'm going to get deep right away. I want to know you, I want to know who you really are. And so these were the things we wanted people to know. Okay, so then the next part of the exercise was write on a piece of paper the thing you don't want anybody to know, the thing that you're totally ashamed of deeply, the thing that, it makes me want to cry, like thinking about like the thing that just like makes you hate yourself or whatever it is, you know, that you're ashamed of, the thing that nobody's going to clap for. Write that down. So everybody wrote it down, and then they put it in a bucket, and then everybody randomly pulled pieces. Nobody's name was on anything, because this is like the shame section, you know. And we all read them, and they were all almost the same. Every single little thing was the same. And so this is my point. I don't want the world to know I'm a badass bass player and I write songs. I want the world to know that my deepest heart, my biggest failures, like all the things I regret and am ashamed of, is exactly what you regret and are ashamed of. And you, I mean the world. Mm-hmm. Like all the things I'm scared of are the things you're scared of. Like and that is what, because that vulnerability is what binds us all together. That's what makes us like the same. It's like, it's the leveling field. It's not like I'm more successful than you here or over here. It's like, we're exactly the same. So that's what I want the world to know. I am exactly, I have got the same fears as you. I have the different frosting on. I have different sprinkles, you know. I have different, you know, outside, but the inside is the same. And I would be so honored if you, the world, will listen to my music and feel it, and we can feel it together, and we can feel it like infinitely, because it happened at a point in time, but when you feel it's another point in time, but now those two connect, and it's like we're just a bunch of brothers and sisters hanging out trying to survive.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good. That's a great response. Captivating response.
It was a captivating exercise. I was crying. We were bawling. And what also made me sad about it was to look, I can think about, oh yeah, well, my problems. I can tell myself what's wrong with me all day long. But when I see somebody else saying the same thing to themselves, I feel like, how could they think that about themselves? You know, right. That's terrible. What a tragedy. But I don't have any problem thinking about myself, which is why that is so weird. You know, that's tragic.
Nicki, I want you to think back through your entire musical career up to this point. Okay.
You mean since I was born?
Yeah. From then to now. Your life of music. And I want you to pick out, and what would you say would be your biggest musical accomplishment to date? And I think you might have already answered that when you talked about the strands and stuff, but there might be more to it. But what is the one thing that is your biggest musical accomplishment to date?
I do have one thing. And putting out this new album is on par with it. But I was able to tour with BT, who I had just bought his CD because I heard his song on the radio, and I was in love with BT, his music. And then I got the audition to play with him, and then I got the part, and then I went on tour, and so the highlight was like playing sold out shows. I mean, thousands of people, huge places, with someone I was a fan of, his music. And just like that feeling of like really doing it, you know, like really getting in that bus at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and driving all night, and then arriving somewhere else at 7 a.m. and then like trying to fight for the shower, whatever it was we were doing. But we were in these nice buses, and but being on that stage in front of all those people, like watching them like sing the songs and know the songs and be into it, and I was into it and they're into it, and us just all like experiencing that moment together at the same time. And I'm playing bass. I was like, I can die now. I literally like that was just the, I don't know what you call it, the non plus ultra or whatever. It's like, that was just it. That was it. That was incredible. And also, like, one time we were in Colorado, and I was so sick. And I was so sick. I don't want to tell you what was happening to me. Like, but just like so sick. And but as soon as I had to go on stage, like, I knew it wasn't you don't cancel the show. I just walked on stage and I just nailed it and just killed it and just played the set and then walked out afterwards and just was sick again. But it's like all time stops because just something comes over you where you're just like that saying, the show must go on. It really is true. It's like just something comes over you and you just make it happen. And I've heard the story from other musicians too. They throw up on the side of the stage just and finish the song, you know.
Great accomplishments that you mentioned there. Nicki, what does the future hold for Nicki Tedesco?
Well, I'm actually hoping to do a lot of world traveling. And, you know, now that I've put out this album, you know, I'm kind of struggling right now with, you know, I have some new songs ready, like from dreams. I have some dream songs. I got dream riffs, you know, and I'm like, do I want to dive into them yet, or like live with this album for a little while? And now that I've done like the third album, and I feel a sense of like completeness, I guess, that I kind of just want to go to the Alps, like, and hike. You know what I mean? I want to take a little relaxation vacation and also explore the world. Because I'm learning Italian. I really want to practice Italian. And so, but you know, I know that I can't just stop, and that these songs will probably become the next album. But in the near future, I'm just hoping that, I really hope people just listen to the record and love it, and it becomes their theme song for, you know, theme songs for their lives. And I mean, what's the future for me? I don't exactly know. And I think I'm excited about that, because not knowing can either scare you because you don't know, or it can excite you because it's full of possibilities. So I'm totally open to whatever happens. I'm very excited because it could be anything. Who knows what it could be? Absolutely. So I'm very excited.
Right on. Where can fans and followers keep up with everything that's going on with you, and including all the great music you're putting out?
I think, well, I mean, I have my website, nickitedesco.com. Then you can get my music basically anywhere. It depends on who the audience is. If they stream, go to Spotify or Apple or Amazon. It's everywhere. Or if you want the CD, you know, Bandcamp, CD Baby, Amazon, it's everywhere. So you just basically have to know how to spell my name right, Nicki, because for some reason I had to be different. Who knew? Who knows why? And then just Google, and I'm everywhere. You can stay the most updated lately on my YouTube channel. So make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my new videos. But I'm live streaming every week there, so you get like an in-depth understanding of what's happening like that day. I mean, it's updated because I'm just sitting there chatting with people for long periods of time. Then I play a song here and there. I play like 5 songs within an hour, so we do a lot of talking. And then, you know, Facebook, Instagram, just basically everywhere on the internet. You can find me on the internet.
Right on. She really is out there. I've researched her, so go to those areas that she told you about. All right, the last hurdle that you're going to have to get through of this interview, okay? This might be a tough one. So, Nicki, I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I give every artist that I have the opportunity to sit and talk one-on-one with. And that is a message to MattyRocks listeners, viewers who are going to see and hear this interview around the country and around the world. What would you, Nicki, like to say to them?
Oh, be yourself. Be yourself. You can pretend you're somebody else. It's never going to work anyway. So you might as well just start being yourself right now. And then you will find exactly where you'll land exactly where you need to be. Just be yourself. Stop being something else. Don't worry about the views. Don't worry about the likes. Don't worry about the streams. Just be yourself. Good and method. Work it.
It's got to work.
Yeah.
Good
method. Work hard.
Nikki, is there anything that I've left out that maybe you want to add? I mean,
Well, now that we've talked so much about music, I hope that like maybe you'll like spin a song or something.
we're gonna have 4 songs in this interview on the audio version.
Okay. Well, whoops.
So
Cut that out.
no. You asked for it, and I'm definitely gonna do that. So,
Yeah.
and I asked you for those songs. So no, we've got the music coming for
Good.
to be
So
played
glad.
in the audio portion of this interview. So we're gonna definitely get that taken care of. But hopefully this was an experience for you. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out. I think it was pretty well researched and
Thank you so much. Thank you for being so thorough. When you texted me and said, "Where did I?" I was like, "Oh man, he's going deep. He's going deep in the details."
right on. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Nikki, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this with me. This was truly an honor. And I wish you continued success in everything you've got going on in your musical arena. I truly mean that from the bottom of my
Thank you
heart.
so much, Matty.
Okay.
I appreciate it very much.
Thank you again. You've heard it here, MattyRocks listeners, MattyRocks and Nicki Tedesco. Close out Zoom session interview. Thanks again, Nikki.
Thank you, Matty.
MattyRocks out.